Have you ever noticed how some people talk endlessly about what they'll do next, yet nothing ever really changes? And then there are others who quietly build while the world only sees the result. In the end, which voice truly matters, the one that speaks or the one that acts? This is the story of Ethan Clarke, a young man who learned that sometimes the loudest message comes from silence. Ethan lived in a small coastal town called Windermere, a quiet place where people knew each other by name and news traveled faster than the wind. He was 28, full of ideas, full of ambition, and full of words. Every weekend at the local cafe, Ethan would sit with his friends, talking about everything he wanted to do. "I'm going to start a community garden," he'd say, "a place where everyone can grow food together. Or one day, I'll launch an app to connect local farmers directly with customers. It'll change everything." People loved his enthusiasm. They'd nod, smile, clap him on the back and say, "You'll make it happen, Ethan." But as months passed, nothing changed. The cafe remained just a place of talk. The garden never sprouted. The app stayed an idea. Ethan was admired for his dreams, but slowly people stopped listening. Then, one autumn, a fierce storm swept across Windermere. Heavy rain flooded the roads, cutting off the small bridge that connected the town's west side, where most of the elderly lived, to the main street. For days, they were isolated. Groceries couldn't reach them. Deliveries stopped. Ethan stood by the damaged bridge, staring at the rushing water. He remembered all his words, all those promises to do something meaningful. But now, faced with real need, he didn't know where to start. That's when he noticed someone else there. An older man, gray-bearded, calm, with work gloves tucked in his back pocket. His name was Robert Hale, a retired carpenter who had moved to town only a month ago. Robert didn't say much. The next morning, before sunrise, he was already by the riverbank with a toolbox and a pile of reclaimed wood. While Ethan and others watched, Robert began measuring, sawing, hammering. Alone. No big speech, no announcement, just work. At first, people were skeptical. One man rebuilding a bridge? Impossible, they said. But Robert didn't reply. He just kept going, step by step, plank by plank. Something about his quiet persistence stirred something inside Ethan. For the first time, Ethan didn't talk. He just walked over and asked softly, "Need a hand?" Robert looked up, smiled faintly, and handed him a wrench. "Always," he said. From that moment, something changed. Each morning, Ethan showed up, sometimes alone, sometimes with a few kids curious to help. Together, they carried beams, tightened bolts, and cleared debris. Robert guided them patiently, but spoke little. He worked with rhythm, like a man who understood that progress doesn't need applause. Days turned into weeks. Blisters formed on Ethan's hands, but strangely, he felt proud of them. When rain came, they worked under makeshift tarps. When supplies ran low, they repurposed old materials from abandoned sheds. And slowly, the bridge began to take shape. By the third week, the whole town had started to notice. Shop owners brought coffee. Teenagers volunteered after school. Even those who had once laughed at the idea now showed up to help. And one bright morning, as sunlight shimmered on the river, the bridge stood complete, sturdy, simple, beautiful. When the first group of elderly residents crossed safely, tears filled their eyes. The whole town gathered, cheering, clapping, celebrating. Ethan stood quietly at the side, hands covered in sawdust. He looked at Robert, who gave him a small nod. No words were needed. That evening, under the orange glow of sunset, Ethan found Robert sitting by the water. "Why didn't you tell anyone about your plan?" Ethan asked. "You could have asked for help right away." Robert chuckled softly. "Because talking doesn't build bridges," he said. "Doing does. Words can inspire for a moment, but action inspires for a lifetime." Ethan stayed silent. Those words sank deep. He realized that for years, he'd been chasing attention instead of impact. From that day on, he changed. He stopped talking about what he would do and began doing what he could. He organized small cleanups along the coast. He helped paint murals at the local school. He repaired benches at the park. None of it made headlines, but people noticed. A year later, Windermere looked different. The streets were cleaner, the community closer, and at the heart of it all was Ethan. No longer the dreamer who only talked, but the man who did. During the town's annual festival, they unveiled a new sign beside the rebuilt bridge. It read, "The Clarke Hale Bridge, built by hands that spoke louder than words." When Ethan stepped up to say a few words, he paused for a long moment. The crowd waited. He finally said, "I used to believe that words could change the world, but I've learned that only actions truly can. From now on, I'd rather let what I do speak for me." Applause erupted. Robert smiled quietly from the crowd. The sound of clapping faded into the hum of the river, the bridge standing firm, a symbol of what happens when words fall silent and hands begin to move. Because sometimes, the loudest voices are the ones that don't speak at all. Remember this: talk less, do more. Let your actions be your voice. Every story we tell at Story Lantern reminds us that transformation doesn't start with grand speeches. It begins with small, consistent steps. So tell me, when was the last time you did something instead of just saying you would? Share your moment in the comments, because your story might be the spark someone else needs to begin. And if this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this reminder today.